Thank you to everyone who's tuning in to the Finding Faith After Trauma Summit. Even if you're watching the replay later, we send you blessings and love, hope, faith, light, compassion, whatever word you need to heal that will help you feel centered and grounded and know that you have value. That's what we want to send you. Our next speaker is lovely. Her name is Benecia Pounder. And I know Benecia. Oh, I don't have it with me, Benecia. I hope you have it handy. She's a publisher, and I was in one of her book projects called Divine Direction. Okay. I just want to say that before I forget. Her title today is Wounded Healers, Turning Trauma into Testimony Through Writing. Benecia is an acclaimed speaker, an 8-time best-selling author, transforms stories into inspiring books at inspirationalauthors.com. She has guided 117 authors since 2016. She's not just creating bestsellers, but architecting legacies of hope, healing, and transformation. Her website is inspirationalauthors.com. We will have in the link at some point soon. Her author page on Amazon, because she's got several books out. She is giving everyone that's registered a gift, and it's called From Pain to Praise, a 7-day devotional journal for healing. Her VIP bonus for those of you purchasing, which I highly recommend, is an inspirational story blueprint. So what better person to get a blueprint for than a publisher? You kind of will know, what publishers look for is what I'm guessing. So Benecia, thank you for being here. I adore you. Take it away.
Yes. Hello, 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 everyone. I am excited. This has been such an amazing time. One of the things that I am most passionate about is helping people to share their stories. And I always say that we are the light of the world. My favorite book, the Bible, right, tells us, Jesus himself tells us that we are the light of the world. And he also goes on to say that we are not to hide our lights. And sometimes what happens when we experience trauma and we experience those dark moments in our lives is that those situations and circumstances cause us to feel like our light's been extinguished, like we don't have light anymore. There's nothing left. But I am here today to encourage you and to empower you to flip that switch back on, to turn your light back on and let it shine. I do that through the power of helping you to share your story, to write your story, to turn that trauma into your testimony. My biggest belief is that you have a story to share, your message, the thing that you've been through, someone else needs to hear. And by writing your story, it's not just about your own healing. It's also about you being able to help heal someone else, help someone else on that healing journey. There's so many things that go on in our minds and in our emotions, our bodies even, when we experience trauma. And one of the biggest things is that we have this sense that this is so heavy. This is so heavy. I've experienced many, many traumas. I don't have the trauma of assault or abuse or things of that nature, but I do have the traumas of healthcare, health issues, and marriage breaking up, and all of those things. The big traumas, I think someone said the big T and the little t. Yes, the big traumas, but also the little everyday traumas as well that come and build up. And as Karen mentioned, one of the things that I'm offering for all of those of you who are taking a part in the summit is a guide, helping you to heal through sharing, writing your story. And you'll get that guide, you'll be able to download it. Today, during our brief time together, I just really want to go through a few of those points that are in this guide so that you can really begin to understand what it looks like to heal through writing your story. And that link will be in the chat. If I need to, I'll go over to the Facebook group and put that in there. But turning your trauma into your testimony. We overcome by the power of our testimony. We overcome when we are able to get beyond that traumatic incident. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it is very, very real. And I never want to diminish the pain that happens with the trauma. But at the same time, because two things can be true at the same time, yes, it hurts, and we are powerful, not only because we have gone through it, but that we've grown through it. And so one of the very first things that you want to do as you are healing and you are writing your story is to acknowledge the trauma. That's what it says in the guide, acknowledge the trauma. I like to expand it to say, acknowledge the value of your trauma. Now you might be saying, Benecia, what? The value of my trauma? That was crazy. Someone beating up on me, someone walking out on me, someone leaving me, losing a loved one, losing my vision, losing my health. What? Where is the value in that? And it is so hard to be able to heal if all you're focused on is that bad part of the trauma. If all you're focused on is that it happened. But what happened because of the trauma? Where are the lessons in that trauma? That's where we want to focus on. And that's where we start, is acknowledging, yes, it hurts. And yes, there is value in it. This is where you begin to reclaim your power. This is where you begin to reclaim your power. One of the things that really we're talking about dealing with spiritual hurts, hurts that happen maybe because of our faith, hurts that happen in the church or in religious communities. I believe that one of the biggest disservices we do in the faith community is hiding. It's hiding. It's not acknowledging that things have happened. It's not showing up in a way that can say, yes, these things happened. I've been in the church all of my life. My parents, grandparents, I was raised in the church. And in the very beginning of my life, I would say, a big part of my religion was tradition. It was following these roles, doing these things, going about things. And although we knew certain things were happening and things came up, we didn't talk about those things. We didn't share those things. We didn't acknowledge those things. Why? Because we didn't want people to judge us. We didn't want to people to think that we weren't good people. But here's the thing. When you don't acknowledge that things are going on, when you don't acknowledge hurts and traumas and pains and challenges and obstacles, what you do is just create this environment where the trauma, where the pain continues to happen. You create an environment where no one's getting healed, no one's moving forward. It just continues to fester and grow, and you perpetuate trauma over and over and over again. I am so passionate about helping you to share your story because I want trauma to end. I want you to be able to let people know, hey, these things happen. Things happen. You are not alone. You are not alone. So as you are writing your story, as you are sharing your story, number one, you are taking your power back. You're saying, hey, you know what, trauma? you happened, but guess what? I've grown as a part of that. I'm a better person as a part of that. I've learned lessons as a part of that. I'm different because of that. And second, you show someone else, hey, you are not alone in this. You don't have to stay stuck. You can get unstuck and move forward. That's the power. One of my traumatic experiences is that um, in my marriage, Carol talked about the fact that, don't get divorced. You're supposed to be married forever till death do you part. And one day, without notice, without warning, my husband just up and left and walked out. There was, for me, I don't know on his part, but on my part, it was out of the blue. It was no warning, nothing at all. And for years and years and years, 10 to be exact, I did not talk about it. I didn't. I went on about my life on the outside. I was okay. I was doing well. I was continuing to go forward. But in those 10 years, anytime anybody asked about relationships or anything like that, I was like, oh, I'm fine. I'm doing so good. I didn't talk about the fact that I was getting divorced because it was a 10-year process, even though he walked out and left and totally left without warning. I was so stuck in that we remained separated, living apart, living our lives totally separate for 10 years. He didn't even want to file for divorce. He just didn't want to be like in the house. I don't even know what it was, right? But for 10 years, it was 10 years before I could say, okay, you know what? I'm getting the divorce, right? And I filed and did that. And I did not share my story. I did not talk about it. I did not acknowledge it until one day I was on watching a live stream and someone was telling my story. Well, it was her story, but it was also my story. The same exact thing had happened to her, and she was telling it, and she was telling it with power, acknowledging her pain, acknowledging how much it hurt, but she was sharing her story and she was encouraging. And I said, okay, okay, I'm not alone. And tears, as I watched her live stream, I just felt this breaking of the shame, of the guilt, because I was holding on to that. And me not acknowledging that this was a very traumatic experience was holding me hostage. And when I saw her share her story, when I saw her getting up there, being vulnerable, talking about how she went through it, that helped me. And so I've been on both sides of this. I've been on the sides where I've helped people to break through. I've also been on the side where other people's stories have helped me to break through. So that's why like I said, I'm so passionate about this. I'm so passionate about this because there is healing all around when we are acknowledging our stories. And I want to say one more thing about that before I move on to the second point I want to make during this time together. The acknowledgement does not mean sugarcoating it. It also doesn't mean just blurting everything out, right? You have to find where you're comfortable. One of the things I do, and Karen mentioned this to me when we were at a retreat together, and I really didn't necessarily realize that it had happened. But as a part of what I do, bringing people together to share their stories, I've done 2 collaborative book projects. All of them have been with people of faith sharing their stories. But one of the things I have to say is that you tell your story in the way that feels comfortable to you. And I remember Karen's story had some words in there that you might say, oh, Christians or people of faith don't use that word or those words. But why not? Because we are human as well, right? So when you share your story, it's about acknowledging every part of it. We do a disservice to ourselves and to those who we are called to serve when we hide certain things. That's giving the trauma a little foothold, a little power, right? You want to reclaim all of your power back. You want to share your story in the most authentic way. We are not trying to manipulate our story so that we only share a little bit of it. Why? Because that part that you're hiding is going to continue to keep you captive and you're not going to really heal. So acknowledging your story, acknowledging your trauma, acknowledging the value of your trauma is so important. And that's the first step. As a story coach, I pull on a lot of different parts of my background. I pull on my background as a certified personal and executive coach. I pull on my background as an attorney and business development strategist. I pull on my background as a trauma survivor and as an empowerment speaker. I pull on all of those things. And the key is to make sure that you are growing through this. You are growing through this. So I think I'm coming up against some time. And that's why I encourage you to get the guide to be able to go through those steps. In the VIP package, there's also the opportunity for you to get the inspirational story blueprint. It's a video, not a video, an audio course, as well as the workbook that goes along with that, to be able to guide you through the structure of actually being able to write your story. So Karen, I want to just, I'm not sure where I am on time. I know I can talk a lot. So
And
I
you have
wanted to,
a lot of great things to say for sure, but you are definitely out of time. And so we'll ask that questions go into the Facebook group. Please ask her questions because Benecia is truly a wealth of information about everything and anything related to book writing. And I wanted to mention, in my personal story, my father was extremely emotionally abusive, among other things. And he called me really vile names and my mother really vile names. And I added them in my story in Benecia's book. And she didn't say, ooh, this is a Christian publication. We need to take these words out. Because I feel like in telling my story that I need to use those words. And out of respect for people that don't want to hear those words, I'm not going to say them now because you can always choose to read my story, not to story, but you may not have you don't have the option of not hearing something if I were to verbalize them now, but they were really ugly. And even I went to an energy healing recently, and my coaches, when I repeated one of the phrases, they were even startled by it. It's like a parent does not talk that way to their child in theory, right? So I am very appreciative, Benecia. And the book that that story is published in is called Divine Direction. And Benecia's author page has already been added to the chat. So thank you so much for being here and gifting us today with you.
awesome. Thank you.